What's up and welcome to the PT podcast. I missed last week because I was doing stuff for work, and so now I'm back this week. I will say last week was kind of tough as well because the Bengals lost the Super Bowl. Obviously, Bengals fan, so it was a tough week for us at the PT podcast. But without further ado, I think we can get into some of the topics for this week. Obviously, my camera is going to be my MacBook camera this week, which is a little bit different. And my microphone was someone who gave me this microphone, so I'm able to do a little bit more technological stuff. We're getting there. We're gonna build something here. But today I just want to talk about a few things. Mostly NFL, some NBA, and some MCU stuff. And so let's get into it. I'm going to start with the MCU, and then I think that we'll go NFL, NBA, because I think that's the best way to go about it. I think my NBA topic's pretty interesting, actually. And it's something that I've been thinking about for a long time, but I haven't really been talking about it too much. But I saw a video about it today, and I was like, I think that is really interesting. So I'd say, actually, let's get into it now. All right. So June of 2020 was a weird time. I remember it was like the NBA was coming back. We didn't really know what was going to happen, but we knew that there was going to be some type of this bubble in Disney World. And let's just say, first of all, if we can talk for a few minutes about the marketing that could have been done. If you follow like Skrillex or whatever it's called on Instagram, his jerseys are always so sick. And he had these Disney jerseys, and I remember like, bro, if they did those for the playoffs, I'm saying just one game, like one during the exhibition games that really didn't matter, because I mean, at the end of the day, Devin Booker went 7-0, and it did not matter. So if they just had those jerseys on for like a few of those games and during the actual season versus during the playoffs, they don't need to wear them. But like those Disney jerseys, if they would have gotten them and worn them, would have been freaking cool. And I think that would have sold like hotcakes too. But it's besides the point. So if you think about the NBA right now, we're coming back from the trade we're coming back from the trade deadline from the All-Star break. We're gonna go right into another postseason. So as some of my friends say, who aren't really NBA fans, aren't really basketball fans, they say this is when basketball actually matters. Versus, and a lot of them are just NFL fans. We live in Cincinnati. We don't have an NBA team, so they don't really care. But now we're about to watch the playoffs unfold, and we're about to go see the push up to the playoffs, everything that's involved in that push, and then we're about to see teams gain momentum at a rate that they're going to be able to carry it into the playoffs. And so we think back to June of 2020. That was when the momentum was crushed because COVID started in March of 2020, right before the playoffs were about to start. So all these teams with so much momentum just stopped. Like the Lakers, I remember, had a ton of momentum. They won the chip at the end of the day, but their momentum was crazy. I mean, if they probably had that much momentum going into it, they might have just absolutely rolled teams, which they kind of did in the end, but there was a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue whether they were actually going to be able to do it. But I think probably the coolest thing that I've thought about as far as the bubble goes is that when you got to that bubble, there was no momentum there. All these teams, what really frustrates me is that the Suns didn't get to play another game or another 2 games or at least a playing game or something, because they went 8-0, I believe, in the bubble. And D-Book's just playing out of his mind, and that guy in the playoffs with an empty gym would have been kind of the coolest thing to ever seen. And also if you like, growing up I played golf. I still play golf, and that's been my sport throughout my career. And when I play golf, I know it's true that like when you're by yourself, you always play it way better when you're not with people, not with people you don't know, not with strangers. And obviously these guys will be playing with strangers. But I know that when basketball players are alone, I know when hoopers are alone, they just absolutely destroy it. So we saw Donovan Mitchell have 40, 50-point games like it was nothing. And it was some of the most entertaining basketball I've ever seen. And I'm not saying we should ever go back to the bubble for the playoffs. I think the home field advantage is like, home court advantage is like one of the most major things. And I think the fans obviously matter a ton. But I think something about the bubble, man. If we had like a summer tournament that we could all see, that was like, I don't know, they picked teams, and there's like 10 teams, and maybe they don't even need to be the best stars, but honestly, that was the coolest part of the bubble, is that was the best stars playing essentially pickup basketball in an empty gym, and they're just completely, their whole entire mind's focused on basketball, and obviously, like, we'll never see something like that again. I don't think. We could, but, like, it have to be years in the future, and it'd be some crisis again. God forbid we ever have that again. But I think the coolest thing was that we were having players who were just completely zoned in the game basketball. And I think another big thing is when you think about players like Tyler Hero, like Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray obviously hasn't come back from injury in a long time, but like when you think about players like that who were young at the time and are still young guys. And if you remember, Tyler Hero did not have the best year last year coming back from the bubble because he was kind of adjusting to having fans again. After his rookie year where he was just crazy in the playoffs, had 30-point games, 40-point games. He was ruling the bubble. He comes back. He has to deal with fans. It's a different game. It's not the same game as it was. So we were watching basketball, some of the best basketball ever. And if you didn't watch the bubble, man, I mean, I think it was, in my opinion, some of the best basketball that we've seen in a long time. I think that is probably the coolest moment of NBA basketball was the bubble. I will say, or for me at least, even though my Hornets didn't even make the bubble, I will say though, at the end of the day, I don't want that to last, and I don't want another bubble. I would never want that again. I'm just saying that the level of play for some of these guys was insane, and obviously it will never come close. Like the bubble, I don't know why I said it was one of the greatest. It wasn't. Cleveland Cavaliers, when they were winning, when LeBron brought it back 3-1, I mean that's probably the best moment. But at that time, you're sitting there, and you're just like, when you're in the bubble, you're just watching these guys play like just absolutely insane basketball. And so it was cool to watch. It was cool from an entertainment perspective, and probably the most interesting thing that's happened in the NBA in a long time. And hopefully we're gonna see documentaries and stuff about it, but how locked in some of these guys were. I want a Jimmy Butler documentary from the bubble so bad, because that guy literally went Allen Iverson in the last playoff series, where he was just absolutely destroying everything, and brought 2 games to the Heat when that Heat team should not have even been there in the first place. They shouldn't have even been in the finals, and they played against the Lakers team that they should not have even gotten 2 games off of. But Jimmy Butler, man, he was crazy. Yeah, I think that's all I got from that. I think just tell me a little bit about, in the comments, tell me a little bit about what you guys think about that. I think like some type of like, I know, no, you can't do it again. I don't know. I would love to see it, but the level of play, we're never going to see it again. But I was watching some bubble clips recently, and I was just like, this is really cool, because the guys are just so locked in, the level of focus that they have, and it really shows who is the best purest player. Like, I mean, some of these guys, like obviously Giannis didn't have a great bubble, but like some of the guys who are just really good, like LeBron won, obviously, and he's the best pure player in the league, right? So we were watching the best pure player in the league play at such a peak, such a level, that he was just unguardable. Like he was literally like he was in 2003 again, going up against guys in high school and absolutely destroying them. I mean, we're watching one of the best basketball players of all time, not in his prime anymore, but he had enough months to get healthy where he was just absolutely leveling dudes and playing peak basketball because he was so locked in to get that chip. So I was just my thought on the NBA this week. Because we're obviously in the trade deadline, I can't talk about current basketball because we're at the All-Star break, so that was just something I was thinking about recently. I think we're going to get into the NFL. So my Cincinnati Bengals. Franchise tagging has started. And we have not tagged Jessie Bates again. And I understand, I hope that we're trying to sign him to a longer deal or something like that. But at this moment in time, tagging Jessie Bates tagging or signing or whatever needs to be a priority. I've talked about it on TikTok all the time. Jessie Bates, obviously, I don't think he had as good of a 2021 as he did of 2022. I mean, or 2020. Those stats are obvious. They're shown. Like he just didn't play as well. But when you consider what he did during the playoffs this year, Jessie Bates won some of those games single-handedly for the Bengals. He did not win single-handedly. Obviously, Joe Burrow played a huge part. Jessie Bates made game after game after game-saving play in every single game. We need this guy back. Now, I don't know why that my Cincinnati Bengals have not decided to go ahead and sign this guy. We could have signed him before the season, but we didn't trust him because I don't even know. We had his best season ever. He was regarded as one of the best safeties in the league, and we don't re-sign him. I don't understand. So I'm just saying, as a guy who's in Bengals media, I guess now, we need to re-sign this guy. I like, if we can go through, let's go through the playoff games. Let's go through the playoff games. In the Raiders game, I think, did he have a pick in the Raiders game? No, he had that one pass deflection against Hunter Renfrow. I remember at the game, and we were at the game, we saw that happen, and that was the complete momentum switch for the Bengals to take over that game and win. If Jessie Bates did not get that stop, there's no way we were winning that game. There's no way. And so to have a player like that who made that play in that game is just vital. It's just vital. And when you think more about it, the play in the Titans game, he made an interception the first play of the game. He made another pass breakup later. All these plays are important. So Jessie Bates did that. I would say another thing is that Jessie Bates made another play, I believe, in the Chiefs game. Yeah, Chiefs game. So we're in overtime. And at this point, I don't think anyone had faith in the Bengals to win. Patrick Mahomes flips the coin. He gets what the call is. He's going down the field. He's marching down the field. He's going to march down the field. Bengals are at 3rd and 5 or something. I don't remember what it was. But Jessie Bates makes a pass deflection that becomes an interception that literally won that game. We need him. I don't understand what the point of not tagging him, not signing him yet is. He's eligible for a contract extension. Let's get it done. He made 3 game-saving plays that literally won the game. He made one during the Super Bowl, too. He made an interception during the Super Bowl. So why have he not been re-signed? I don't know. So, no, that's my thought on the Bengals. I'll say the only other thing is that on all this offensive line stuff, if you think about it, yes, Bengals need offensive line. There's no bones about it. They obviously need it. I think that though, if we don't get a guy like a Terron Armstead or Brandon Scherf or something like that, we shouldn't flip out. I think at this point in time we need quality offensive linemen. We need a large quantity of them. Sure, I want the best left tackle in the league. I want that Terron Armstead, right? I want the best possible option. But we have to remember that we are in Cincinnati and we have Mike Brown as our GM. So as much as I really, 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 really want Terron Armstead, we got to keep our expectations low as a franchise. And then when it happens, then we're going to be like, oh, we're going to Super Bowl again. We're going to win. We're going to take this home. So I think that what we should learn from this right now, especially from the tag of Jessie Bates thing, unless he just gets re-signed after this video comes out, after this podcast comes out, which would be funny, but we should learn as Bengals fans, let's focus on what we can control and what the positives are of the Bengals right now. We just came off a Super Bowl loss, which sucks, but I wouldn't say we're never supposed to be there because I don't believe that's true. I think that the Bengals were a great team coming into the season. I think they were severely underrated, and the list goes down the line. But we had a great season. We beat Patrick Mahomes twice. We did a lot of good things. During free agency, I think that our expectations, while they should be high, do not set them too high, or you will probably be disappointed, as much as I hate to say it. And I hope that I am so wrong about it. But as a lot of people have said, the Bengals are cheap. They have been for forever, and I understand the Black Brents to take over. I understand that it's a different vibe there now, and I love the Bengals, and I believe that too. I believe it's a different vibe. But at the current moment, my expectations are that we're not going to get him. It's just not. So, and if we do, and I'm wrong, I'm going to post a TikTok about it. I'm going to be hype about it. I don't even care. It'll be great. But right now, my expectations are kind of low. So a little bit more about the NBA. NBA All-Star Game happened. And I actually think it was a solid game on both sides. I think that I was just thinking about one event you can add to it. I think there's too many events right now. I think it should just be like the 3-point contest, dunk contest, whatever. But then again, the Rising Stars games was great. I just think there has to be a way to get more people to watch the All-Star game, because I think it is like when the NFL season's over, be honest, like when the NFL is over, everyone's going to care more about basketball. So it's kind of like basketball's thing of like, we're here, we're ready to play. So it just needs to be a spectacle every single year. And so I'd say, like, and for me, I think the coolest thing, and people talk, every single time you talk about the Olympics, everyone's always talking about adding a 3-on-3 tournament. I think if we had some type of 3-on-3 tournament where you let NBA legends draft teams of 3 from the, 24 All-Stars or 22 All-Stars or whatever it is, you let the NBA legend, like you let a Larry Bird coach a team with 3 players that are just absolute dogs. Like, that'd be so sick. I think that'd be probably the coolest event that you could have. Because 3-on-3, I mean, it's obviously not 5-on-5, but you play basketball, you love 3-on-3. Like, I love 3-on-3. I love watching 3-on-3. I think it's entertaining. That league that, I don't remember what rapper started that league, but I think that league, I love watching that league, so I'd be psyched for them to do a 3-on-3 tournament with an NBA legend coaching a team. Just imagine like a team of LeBron, or not even LeBron, like just imagine like Cade, like because then you're building big threes basically, and that's what we like to talk about in the NBA. We like to talk about big threes. So you have these players, like do as much as you can with them in this time, you know. In a 3-on-3 tournament, I think the players would enjoy it. It's something different. That's something I would implement next year. So that's all I got in the NBA. And last topic I'm going to talk about is a little thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A lot of times have been commenting on my TikToks saying that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is supposed to be like it should be less family friendly. At the end of the day, you have to understand why these movies are so large. Kids make more money than I can ever make for a company. You know, like, I go to these movies, and I love going to these movies, and I buy a bunch of shit for these for these franchises. But at the end of the day, I can never replicate what I did as a kid. Buying toys and all this stuff. That's what kids are going to do. They're going to buy endless amounts of memorabilia, and toys and whatever else. The Spider-Man toy market is a $4 billion market, right? And so when one superhero has that big of a market, if you make that superhero not kid-friendly, and obviously I don't think anyone's saying that you should make Spider-Man not kid-friendly, but like, at the end of the day, MCU is kid-friendly for that reason. So I see a lot of people be like, DC should never be kid-friendly. DC should never have these things. First of all, if you don't think that DC has any light to it, then you know nothing about DC. You've never seen Justice League Unlimited. You've never seen Justice League. You've never probably seen Superman the Animated Series. You've probably never read a comic book in your life, because if you thought that DC Comics is completely light or is completely dark and Zack Snydery, then you've probably never read anything or watched anything in the past, 25 years that's not Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman, which is garbage fire, that of Batman killing, which completely defeats the purpose of the character. And also, here's the thing. Let's be honest. If you wanted more DC films, you know why Marvel comes out with so many movies every year? Because they make a bunch of money. You know how people make money? Is making them kid-friendly. So if you make a movie that's kid-friendly, you're going to make more money, and we're going to have more DC movies. Wouldn't we want to have movies be more kid-friendly a little bit? You can keep PG-13. Marvel's kept PG-13, but we don't need to make every movie R. I was hearing people say that the Batman movie should be rated R. And look, I love Batman. I love it to be dark and gritty and whatever. You know what? The second you make Batman The Dark Knight was not even rated R. My parents say it's dark all the time, but The Dark Knight was not even rated R. So we're gonna decide to make the Batman a Batman movie, one of the biggest superheroes in the world, a rated R movie that people under the age of 17 can't go see. So until a year ago, I couldn't even go see this movie. That's just not how you make money. I don't understand the people that are like, they'll sit there and type in their comment sections. They'll be like, yeah, so we should make this Batman movie rated R because that would be a really good idea. Well, you know what? Do you have a brain cell? Do you have any semblance of a brain if you think that that's going to happen? Like, here's the thing. I understand that people want these things. They want this dark and gritty. But the Joker, the Snyder Cut, these things that are rated R, they were rare cases. That's not how you make money in this industry. That's just not. If you understand the industry, you understand why Marvel's so successful. They make kid-friendly, funny movies that are, uniform, but they make money. And that's what this industry is ran by. You have to understand that. And I want the best stories possible, but I don't believe you have to be rated R to get the best stories possible. And if you do, then you have no scope or vision for what a movie can be. I mean, there are great Marvel movies that are serious in tone for most of the movie and that make you really feel. No Way Home, great movie. Pretty serious the whole entire time, and except at the beginning a little bit. And No Way Home is completely PG-13. Makes you feel at the end. Makes you feel the entire time. There's not a weird, funny moment that's stupid that really takes away from the plot. I mean, Captain America: Winter Soldier, another great. Just because there's a bad movie that's family friendly, that's Marvel, does not mean that every single movie needs to be rated R. I've seen this so much in my comment section. I'm just like, I don't understand it, because like, I like the Snyder Cut a lot, but the mainstream, you're gonna tell me that my mom knows what the Avengers are because it's so family friendly. It's so being able to be acceptable and whatever. Like, it's so mainstream. If we ever want DC to be mainstream, if we ever want some of these movies that we want to happen, like if we ever want a Batman Under the Red Hood, if we ever want some of these movies to go all the way, like we want a DC cinematic universe, and maybe you don't want the Justice League to come out and be awesome in all their glory. Maybe you don't want DC to get to the point of Endgame. But that's not a world I want to live in. So I'd rather have it be family friendly for a long time. I mean, it doesn't need to be family friendly. It's just PG-13. PG-13 is like blood, mild. It's not mild, like mild relationship having. What else do you need? You don't need do you need gore? I mean, that's one thing I just don't understand. But yeah, that's all I got for the podcast this week. I'm gonna come out with another one on Friday. So yeah. At the end of the day, I don't know what else I have to say. But at the end of the day, I think that, like I said, DC needs to just decide, and obviously I may turn this from an MCU topic of like why they're family friendly into a Marvel topic, or into a DC topic, because look, personally, I'm a DC fan. I like it more than Marvel. I just always have. But for DC to be successful, they need to be PG-13. They just do. That's how it has to be. Peacemaker was rated R, and that was great. But Peacemaker was for adults, and Peacemaker is not even close to the amount of money made from Spider-Man No Way Home. It just isn't. If you looked at the Suicide Squad, I love that movie. Really did. The Suicide Squad didn't even do close to what Spider-Man did. And no one's selling toys for that stuff. No one's buying merchandise. No kids are buying merchandise. We need the kids to make some of these things good. Like, to have huge budgets, to have these extended cinematic universe. We need that stuff. Okay? So that's just how it has to be. So just keep it PG-13. I don't understand. Yeah. But that's PT Podcast for Wednesday. It's February 23rd. There's no holidays. I was trying to wish some people happy holidays. But yeah, check out the TikTok, the Instagram, and this is going to be posted on YouTube, so it's awesome. All right. See you all Friday. Maybe we'll have a guest.